everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from gorgeous, if a little bit hot, Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, what are we talking about?
We're gonna launch from Noah's Ark.
That's right. We're gonna tell you a story, dear listener, about a man named Noah.
Yeah, it's a
And,
great story. It's one of the greatest stories ever told.
Except for that one. That
Except-
is the greatest story ever told.
It is it's stupid on its face, and we're gonna talk about that.
Okay, sounds good. And why it's being stupid is actually the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, up first, Dan. I guess I'm gonna do a little update
Oh, good.
because last week on the show we talked about our dear governor, Spencer Cox, calling on Utahns to pray for rain, right? Because the West is in a drought. Utah is experiencing a historic drought.
Right. So rather than taking much needed drastic measures
Right.
in terms of conservation,
Right.
he took a supply side solution and asked the Lord and asked everyone to ask the Lord
Yes.
for some more water, please.
And it turns out that due to his lack of leadership on the issue of us as a state conserving the water resources that we do have, people, criticized him. We criticized him, right?
How dare they
And
us?
And that's almost his response.
Oh, really?
Not entirely, but yeah, he responded to, I guess his Twitter feed just blew up. A lot of people, it's Utah. A lot of people were like, "Thank you for asking us to pray." Right.
Right.
But there were a lot of people who were like, no, like, action, man, do something about it. Like, if you want to pray on your own, great, but do something about this. Right.
Yeah.
And so he responds online, and he says that, well, first of all, he was sort of shocked at the vitriol of the whole thing.
Just shocked.
Shocked at online could be so ugly.
Yeah. He's apparently. Have you met the internet, sir?
He says, our state has a long history of petitioning deity to temper the elements. Oh, God. While I rarely look at
That
social
doesn't make it any better.
I know. While I rarely look at social media replies, I was surprised at some of the vitriol and contempt. At a time when we ask for love and friendship to those of different sexual orientations,
He's playing into the liberals.
I would also ask the same kindness for those who believe in God. Oh, because it's the same fucking
It's the same thing. Look, gay people are persecuted. Sure, we can kind of agree on that. He says but as we all know, nobody's more persecuted than believers in this country.
It's just the worst. I feel for him. It's just terrible, terrible.
Yeah, he just didn't see it coming.
The historic and systemic prejudice that religious people have faced in this nation.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so sad.
It is. It's rough.
One commenter on Twitter, probably more than one, but this one was pulled out in the article that I was reading, says, and picked up on a very interesting critique of the whole thing. Elected leaders encouraging faith in a nation is wonderful, but this prayer only works if you're righteous. Doing this after, for example, celebrating Pride Month, literally, Pride. How scripturally illiterate can you get? Smacks
Oh my God.
more of manipulative theatrics than discipleship.
Wow. See? You're praying for water can't work because you are nice to gay people.
You're a gay lover. Gay lover.
Jesus.
So like, I mean, he was poor guy. He just can't win, right?
He can't win. The liberals are mad at him. The conservatives are mad at him.
So this, of course, he announced the weekend of prayer. Well, it was like on Thursday, right, or Friday, like leading into the weekend. He does this call for everybody to pray, and then over the weekend he gets all this criticism. And Monday morning, they act like they have this whole thing all figured out, and that they were going to be announcing big state initiatives, like from like this was always part of the plan, right? Essentially. So they held a news conference on Tuesday to discuss the dire drought situation and offer specifics of how Utah residents and businesses can reduce their water usage. And also,
please note, listener, astute listeners will note that he said how we can, not how we are required to help with the process.
Right. He also points out that water restrictions would be handled at the local level.
Right.
By local water districts, because they, quote, know exactly how much water is available in the local area, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, man, like, first of all, we know what people in this state do when left to their own devices, which is they do nothing.
Right.
Like socially minded or civically minded. They do not do it. Right. And so it's like just asking people to do, like, let's reduce our water. It's like, no. Like he's still not doing anything. And that's the point. He's either calling on some fictional, fake deity thing, right, to fix the problem for us, or calling on the people to just, be good and do what's right. Well, they won't.
They won't.
Hike up the rates. Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah.
Like make
you have to find people who do obvious bullshit.
And you don't hike the rates for the first block of water or whatever unit of water you use right at the beginning. Like, but if you go over a thing, you should be paying for it, right?
Yeah,
like make us conserve, right?
Give everybody an allotment of water that a household that would be a reasonable but tight amount of water. Yeah. And everything that you go over that, it's going to cost you a fucking fortune.
Yeah. And don't tell me you can't do that at the state level. Like don't. Yeah. So you're still not doing anything. So I thought that was an important thing to bring up because he's still not doing anything.
Because he's a ding dong.
Yeah.
All right. But I mean, at least he did do the whole gay pride month thing.
He did do that. I know. But then he's like leaning into it as like, hey, I'm a good guy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Then he's like, hey, liberals, come on, man.
Yeah, you can't get that upset at me. Like I thought we were on the same side.
I thought we understood each other, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be a dick. God. Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell a tale of two apps. I got two stories of apps coming out that have been announced.
Okay.
The first is by a guy, Michael Lee Mason, who has announced the launch of free filtering.
Okay. Now, what is that?
Internet filters are nothing new. Parents use them to keep their kids from seeing pornography or whatever. But these were not good enough for Mason. Mason needed to go a big step further and protect the children from gay people. Apparently, they are. No. He's trying to make the internet a, quote, safer place for souls, trademark, by preventing access to porn, LGBTQ+, and abortion.
Oh my God! So like these things just don't exist on his internet.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want it to. Good luck with that, BT dubs. Filtering the internet is notoriously difficult anyway, and something tells me that this thing doesn't have the teeth to actually be able to do it. But anything is better than nothing, because let me tell you something. To quote an article, Christian parents are rightfully concerned about the way their kids are being systematically exposed to false ideas about human sexuality at school.
Oh.
Then, those ideas are all too easily reinforced with unfettered internet access at home. God. I tell you, it's like you can't trust anybody these days. So
yeah, well,
they're going to protect the kids from the gays.
Yeah,
and the abortion, because you know what kids love to look up? Abortion on the internet. Most kids are just the first thing they get to. They're like, Minecraft, and what's this abortion business all about?
Yeah. Google, show me abortion.
The other app that I wanted to talk about was created by a man named Adam Evers, which is weird because then his name has Adam and Eve right next to each other. Anyway, Adam Evers, who has created the app Believer. That's you know what I'm saying.
There's no E.
There's no E at the end because they're clever.
That's how you know it's a trendy app.
Oh yeah,
they're because isn't Tumblr the same way?
Yeah,
actually,
all the good ones. You don't want that last ER because it's
Grindr,
not hip that way. Grindr is that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of Grindr, this app is for or at least is to include and be a safe space for gay Christians.
No.
Yeah.
What?
So it started out as like as kind of a dating app, and apparently they're pivoting to make it a place for community for all the gay Christians who.
Because it turned into a gay Christian hookups site. Is that the
right? Yeah, that's what it's got to be.
You can't connect gay men. I don't care if they're Christian or atheists, right? You can't put two of them in the same room without something happening. Like
they are horny little buggers. Those gay boys. There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, but I mean, what's nice is. This is not an app for people to oppress gay people. This is an app for people to, if you're a gay man and you want to find a husband who inexplicably shares your Christian beliefs, then this is the place to go. So,
well, good luck, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that one, to be perfectly honest.
I don't feel good about it at all.
I think the answer is what you came up with, Frank. Just leave. It's so much better out of the religion.
Absolutely.
Especially for the LGBTQ community.
Just why retrofit Christianity, right? To make it friendly to gay people. It clearly isn't at its core.
Right.
So
yeah,
okay,
you can
let's move on.
You can find the odd pastor who's super sweet and gay friendly and whatever, but on the whole,
yeah,
you just go. You don't need it.
Yeah. All right, go. Dan.
Yeah.
The Uyghurs, who we've been talking about off and on the show for quite a while.
These are the Chinese Muslims.
Yes.
Who are not being treated very nicely.
No, in fact, I mean, at this point, if you haven't heard about the genocide that is happening against the Uyghur Muslims by the hand of the Chinese Communist Party, then you, I mean, it's pretty bad stuff. Something like 2 million, a million or 2 million. It's a huge number of people in forced labor camps, so forth and so on.
I think you mean re-education camps where they're being trained in valuable life skills.
Yeah, that's what they say. 2 million. And the Chinese government has been systematically working to destroy any remnants of their culture. that exist. In fact, I heard recently that they're going around just razing any remaining mosques in the region.
Sure.
So forth and so on. They're doing their darndest.
Yeah.
Well, the Chinese Communist Party's persecution of the Uyghurs does not stop at their own borders. And this story that I read this week is pretty rough. They apparently they have been using extradition orders to get Uyghurs back to China to put them into these camps.
Oh, sweet mother!
Specific.
Well, I mean, they're out there in the world telling people that the Chinese government is being mean. You don't want people finding out about it.
I actually, in a lot of these cases, I don't even know if that's a connection. Rights groups have documented hundreds of detentions and at least 20 deportations from Egypt of Uyghurs back to China. In 2017, the majority of the people who were facing this persecution by China, the majority of them were students, actually. Then let's see, Saudi Arabia has deported people back to China. And what's really interesting, I think there was a story from Dubai. It's Arab countries. It's Muslim majority countries that are doing this.
You would think that they would have a vested interest in protecting other Muslims.
Yeah, and apparently, like the Uyghurs are just feeling completely, as you would, betrayed, because there used to be, they had this sense that there would be some Islamic solidarity,
right?
But that's not the case because China's international power and influence is on the rise, as we know. And it's specifically gaining a lot of influence in the Middle East. That's one of the regions that they're having some success, because Middle Eastern countries don't, they don't have the same response to an autocratic country and same hesitancy that the West has.
They kind of dig it.
It's kind of their thing, right? And so they don't seem to have like these problems of having sort of like, deals with China. I mean, we have our deals with China too, like, we're problematic, but, it's these things aren't, it's not Europe and the United States and Canada that are deporting people to China on basically nothing. And there's enough of these cases. Like you could be like, oh, well, just because like a few people who were Uyghur were deported back to China. Well, did they do something? Right. But this is a bunch of people and it keeps happening over and over and over. And I think it's kind of one of those new things to be watching with this whole Uyghur situation.
Yikes.
Like the Uyghur thing, we got to do something. I still can't believe that we're not pushing China harder on this. I know that's probably a little naive, right? Because of all the ways that we're economically intertwined with China. But why is the West not pushing harder? I know some countries have started to make some strongly worded statements and are trying to do some things, but like the United States needs to lean in hard on this. This is an atrocity.
Yeah.
You cannot persecute people just because of their religion. You can't.
Well,
it's
and
a
it's
crime
funny
against humanity. Like
because the people who should be most opposed to this, who are the ones that are constantly yelling the loudest about, the right about religious rights here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones who don't give a fuck about the Uyghurs.
Yeah,
they're the ones who the ones who should most care, because there but for the grace of Allah go they.
Right.
And yet they don't give a fuck.
Well, they only care about the Christian persecution.
Right.
The Muslim persecution? What are you talking about?
And to be honest, they don't even care about real Christian persecution.
Right.
Which does exist in places like, Korea and Egypt. And, there's definitely places where Christians actually encounter persecution. But what they care about is the fake persecution that happens here in the United States.
Right.
The definitely not real persecution is what they're worried about.
Yeah, you want to see persecution by the state of a religious group. Look at the Uyghurs.
Yeah.
And that should be alarming to any religious group. Right?
Totally.
I don't get it. And here we are, an atheist show, and we've been, bringing this issue up for 5 years probably now. Was the first time we heard about the Uyghurs, and it was like, what? What the hell is this story? Right?
Yeah. Don't ever tell me that Christians actually care about religious freedom. They don't. They care about Christian supremacy, and that's it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, speaking of supreme Christians, the Pope is one of those. He's a pretty big deal.
He might be the supreme Christian, actually.
The supreme Christian. He's Christian supreme. He's the big dog. And he just got called out by a Canadian, no less. So here's the deal. Last week, I think it was, I reported on that horrible the find of all of those native children's bodies buried at that school.
Right.
For those of you who didn't listen or don't remember, it was a school where they basically kidnapped First Nations children from their homes and put them into these schools, with the goal being to westernize them, to turn them into good little, basically European kids. But, you can't treat them as well as you treat good little European kids. So what you do is you horribly abuse them.
Right. And
then if a few of them die, you just bury them in a mass grave unceremoniously.
I mean, not to draw a line from the last story to this one.
Right.
But why do Christians not care about the Uyghurs? Because they would do it if they had the chance.
Yeah.
They would be in the place of, they would cut the Chinese, government out of the issue. They would be doing it.
Absolutely. Unless anybody accuse you of being disingenuous, I will point them to, I don't know, all of history.
Right.
For evidence of that. Including this particular thing, which was horrific and egregious, and started by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was largely involved in this, and the country stepped up and started and continued to fund it. So everybody's hands got dirty on this thing, but the Canadian government apologized. And officially apologized, and I don't know, probably made some moves for some sort of reparations. I don't know what they could do or what they have done. But it was enough that Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, was able to call out the Catholic Church, saying he was, quote, deeply disappointed that the Catholic Church has not apologized for their role in the genocide of American natives.
Right.
Which is fascinating. The amount of pressure that puts on, I've never heard of a head of state putting that kind of pressure on the Catholic Church. Because look, pretty much every country in the world that's been touched by the Catholic Church has something to apologize for. Pretty much everywhere they went, they have something that they need to be apologizing for. So I can see why they'd be reluctant to open those floodgates. But damn, right. Trudeau and Trudeau's Catholic. He said, as a Catholic, I am deeply disappointed by the position that the Catholic Church has taken now and over the past many years. When I went to the Vatican a number of years ago, I directly asked His Holiness Pope Francis to move forward on apologizing on asking for forgiveness, on restitution, on making these records available. And we're still seeing resistance from the church, possibly from the church in Canada.
Wow.
It's that's some powerful stuff, if you ask me. That's a man calling out his own religion in a pretty strong way. I thought that was balls right there.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Well done.
He's not a perfect guy, but when he hits, sometimes he hits hard. I like it.
All right.
He was a boxer, you know.
Oh, was he?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. All right.
And he's so handsome.
Yeah, clearly didn't get many blows to the face.
Right?
Mm.
Or at the very least, he took them with grace and aplomb.
All right. All right. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
Burger King. shot across the bow over at Chick-Fil-A this week.
Uh-oh.
Dan. Oh, my God. They're debuting their own chicken sandwich. At
God!
Burger King.
Everybody is debuting their own Chick-fil-A ripoff sandwich right now.
They call it the Chick-King.
Okay,
and
they're fired for that. That is not acceptable.
Well, anyway, they announced that during the month of June, they are going to be donating 40 cents from every Chick-King sandwich sold to the Human Rights Campaign for the month of June, and
which is an LGBTQ.
Yeah, it's like the big one, right?
Yeah.
They fight for LGBTQ plus rights, and they said that they will donate up to $250,000, but what caught the attention of many people was the fact that they had this really nice little tweet that went out, and they said that during Pride Month, even on Sundays, your chicken sandwich craving can do good, right? And so,
I love it.
Even on Sundays, Dan.
Right.
And then, of course, they're donating to LGBTQ plus cause, right?
For those of you,
when it's like, this is fucking Chick-fil-A that is closed on Sundays because they're owned by Christians, really serious Christians, and they donate to like gay hating groups,
right?
And so, and they're like, some
that's
private
a pretty solid
thing.
burn right there. That's a pretty solid slap in the face.
This is good. This makes me want to go have one of their chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, I might have to, just because that is the kind of corporate behavior I wish to encourage.
And 40 cents, man, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a chicken sandwich you can feel good about.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, I don't know the preparation of the damn thing. I'm assuming it's plain with a stupid pickle. If it's going to be a ripoff.
Yeah. I'm sure it is.
I cannot. Like, I don't get why everybody's just like, oh, Chick-fil-A. Oh, Chick-fil-A.
I really like Chick-fil-A sandwiches. I will be honest with you about that. I really like them, but I won't do it because they're fucking haters and they're dickholes.
I had a couple Chick-fil-A sandwiches years ago, right? And I was just like, what in the fuck is this? That was my reaction. And so then when they turned out to be like gay hating, I was like, yeah, good.
No big loss.
Yeah. I don't feel anything, right?
Yeah.
And so plus then it gave me like a real reason to hate them, not just that everybody likes their sandwich and I don't, right? Which is, which is your standard
reason to hate something.
That's why I hate something. Yeah. Is that I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with everybody? Right.
Yeah.
I clearly am the authority on chicken sandwiches, everybody.
Obviously.
Anyway, I thought that would be nice to shout out to Burger King.
Yeah. Don't eat at Chick-fil-A. Just don't
stay away. Just stay away, people. I know
you
love the sandwich.
There are now plenty of alternative options for you. And apparently some of them will donate to something that Chick-fil-A will hate.
And there's like, I don't know if they're any better, but they can't be worse than a Chick-fil-A sandwich. So.
There you go. Well, I'm gonna leave us with a guy. This is a pastor in Nigeria. He's hit our radar before. He's not a sweet man. He's a guy who has been fully anti-LGBTQ his entire time as pastor. He's the kind of guy that has quote unquote cured his parishioners of their gayness through awful methods, including hitting people, shaving their heads, public humiliation, just really delightful stuff. He allegedly told people infected with HIV to pray rather than take their medication.
Oh, geez.
Because God would heal them. So that's cute. Like he's super cute.
Yeah,
he was also a prophet, and would he predicted, for instance, the rise of President Hillary Clinton, but then immediately took that video down after she lost. Anyway, he was a big deal. He was one of the wealthiest pastors in Nigeria. Made a fortune.
Okay.
I'm just here. The whole story is he's dead. Hooray! I'm happy. At 57, the man is dead, and they have not yet released why. And I hope it's AIDS. That's what I hope, my personal feeling. But, it doesn't really matter how.
Hatred.
I'm just glad he's dead.
Hatred. It finally got to him.
Yeah.
His
hate.
little heart shrunk 2 sizes too small.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he didn't have his Whoville moment, so he couldn't he didn't get to it in time. So there you go. Well, if you would like to participate in this fuck eulogy of a guy, or if you'd like to yell at me for taking pleasure in someone's death, please feel free to write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
I think we've established that we celebrate when some people die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of our thing.
And we don't hear from the audience, really. People don't say, yeah, you guys...
They're still allowed to write in about it if they want to.
If it bothers you, or if you'd like to join in,
right,
you could leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. We'd love to hear your voice. And stick around. There's more show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Yes.
So you'll recall that we played a clip either last week or the week before.
I think it was last week, wasn't it?
It could have been with Milo Yiannopoulos, the ex-gay,
the guy who's pretending he's no longer hooking up with guys,
all while being the swishiest possible guest appearing on True News. That's Rick Wiles' little TV affair.
The clip we played was. I don't think the clip we played was from the True News.
No, it was from True News. Yeah.
Oh, it was?
The clip we played was from True News.
Okay.
I caught that after we played it. I wish that before I had noticed that because that would have been a fun detail, obviously.
Right.
But nonetheless, he went on to one of their shows and shared stories about what was it? Dogs no longer bark at him. Right. Now that he's no longer gay.
Now that he's cured himself of the abomination of gayness.
and then suddenly, after he'd appeared on one of their programs, basically everybody at True News got sick with COVID.
including
Rick Wiles himself.
And
we talked about this as well on the show, of course. Yeah. And it's delightful.
Totally happy about it.
Well, anyway, one of their hosts, she shares a theory as to why they all actually caught COVID-19.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody. Have fun tracking this one. It's great.
I don't think it's any coincidence that the True News crew all got deathly ill, got very sick right after they brought Milo onto their show, and he shared his testimony.
You best explain what you mean by that. I don't know where this is going.
Yeah, we have to remember that this is a spiritual battle as well, and our enemy retaliates. What this is, I believe, in my opinion, is that this was retaliation. We constantly battle demonic spirits, demonic attacks on ourselves, and we as Christians must stay equipped, but also we must continue to stay prayerful as we walk into these times where the enemy, it seems like he has the upper hand. But it was no coincidence that Rick and his crew are in the situation that they're in because they stood for Christ and had the spine to bring Milo on and share his platform and his testimony. Milo was somebody who belonged to the darkness. He was already Satan. He was Satan's favorite sodomite, wasn't he? And we took him back. Christ took him back.
He likes music and good jokes.
Well, Satan's favorite sodomite. And believe me, he's got a lot to choose from.
Yeah. I actually find it hard to believe that he was Satan's favorite.
Oh, he's definitely not. He is no one's favorite sodomite. What's weird is, no, he was the right's favorite sodomite. Like, that was his whole shtick. He was the favorite sodomite of. I'm gonna stop using that word. He was the favorite gay man of the extreme ugly right.
Yeah,
in this country, and in his own country of the UK, precisely because of how hateful he was, and how willing he was to roll over on his own people.
Right.
So, are you calling yourself Satan? Are you saying, what are you saying in this? I love, and I love that she starts it out with, the reason they all got COVID is because we brought in Milo, and her co-host has to go, wait a minute, hold on, because it kind of sounds like you're saying that he gave him COVID.
Right.
Which he may well have done.
We
don't know. Right. He could have been asymptomatic. How they got
sick. We have no idea how they all got sick. But clearly it was Satan. This is spiritual warfare. Yeah. And these people are so righteous that God let them get sick.
Oh my God. So, it's just your own logic. The thing is, they never have to be held to anything that they say. So in one week they'll be like, God will protect me from this, and the next week they'll get it and be like, Satan gave it to me, and they don't see a problem with that at all.
Yeah, God failed you.
Yeah, either God failed you or you failed God in some way or something, because your whole calculus got fucked.
Yeah, it's a hell of a way to live, let me tell you.
Oh my God, so weird. Well, we had someone call into us.
We did, Dan. That's true. The caller is responding to a story that we brought up a while back, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember the story recently.
Yeah, she's in the archives somewhere.
Yeah, she's been
poking around.
And so she's responding to. Apparently we were talking about there being a mayor, like a city mayor, who would not let women pray at meetings. Is that what it is?
Something along those lines.
Something along those lines, and relying on that whole scripture from whatever book in the Bible that's about women being silent, right, in the church and not teaching and all that kind of stuff. And so she's responding to that.
Hi, Frank and Dan. I started listening to your show recently, and I'm going back through the archives because I can't get enough. And I listened to the one about reopening churches and the wily Texas mayor who was very adamant about women not being able to speak in any kind of prayer related to town business. As a government employee, I can't tell you where I work, but yes, I am sure those emails have a lot of very interesting and lawsuit-laden language right for the taking, and just really wish you had more female co-hosts, especially when you start ripping on assholes who want to keep women out of everything, and specifically in silence, to learn in silence, which is just disgusting and disturbing beyond belief, as you correctly pointed out. Anyway, thank you for the show. Bye.
Yeah. I did find that article, by the way. I did look. I looked it up, and yeah, it was a mayor who basically said that women can't pray at can't give the invocation. Anyway,
problem. Yeah,
it's a cute stance to take, and yeah, I hope he gets sued into the next dimension. But yeah, in terms of us having more women's voices, I'd like to have more women's voices. Can you be a woman, Frank? Can we just?
I mean,
one of us.
That is the problem. It's kind of the Frank and Dan show, and
yeah,
you know, we didn't think about that when we started the show.
We are unfortunately cursed with our own gender and race.
Well, yeah, I mean it's I don't know. I think it's, for me, I like to advocate from my position, right? That's all I can do.
It's the best we can
do. But I do take the note. Like I do wish that we could handle some of these topics that come up a little bit more from the perspective of the people who are being affected.
Yeah.
But
and we can, in the sense that we will, like, if you call into us,
we'll play.
We have a chance to play
absolutely.
your voice.
Yeah.
So all of our listeners have the opportunity. Our people, our listeners of color, our female listeners, our trans listeners, if you're in the group that we're discussing and you have something to add to the discussion, we want it.
Or to tell us what we got wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are not perfect.
More than willing to play those.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have some folks to thank?
We do, Dan.
Woo!
In fact, we have 4 new patrons this week.
Excellent.
We have 3 new deacons by the name of Will,
hurrah,
Kyle, and Anne the trans woman.
Wonderful.
So, thank you to the 3 of you. You've purchased a wonderful little priesthood.
Yeah.
You can do so much now.
Yeah, your responsibilities now. You have responsibilities now.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility, such as giving little tiny cups of water to people.
And then we have a new teacher as well, by the name of Michael. So
wonderful.
Thank you
well done, Michael.
Thank you to the lot of you. We do so appreciate the support of the show.
Yeah,
and
we're not the biggest show out there, so every little cent counts. Everyone who can afford to give us a little bit of your dosh each week, that is it's something that means so much to us.
And we are working on a goal at the moment. We would like to hire an editor to put the show together every week. Because my time is growing more and more limited. And as always, Dan, we got our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Austin! Woo! Hey, Dan.
Hey.
This week there was a little miracle.
Oh?
Yeah, you know that the governor asked for everybody to pray, right?
Yes.
And then there was a about pray for rain, right? Well,
yeah.
We got a little
There was a microburst. Literally, here in this barren desert of Salt Lake City, there was the tiniest little insignificant, not really anything amount of rain. So prayer works, people.
But there was just enough moisture in the air, Dan, to create a rainbow. Did you see the beautiful rainbow?
Yeah, on Pride weekend, what a lovely thing to see.
I know. The Lord honored us with a rainbow.
That really is the only possible interpretation of those events, right? Like,
I think so.
One group is celebrating their gayness and demanding the rights that they very richly deserve. Another group is begging God to give them water instead of taking the action that they probably should be taking.
Well, praying to end a drought.
Yeah.
That's what they're praying for. It's no small amount of rain, right?
Right.
And then all the good Lord can do is just spit a few little things out and create the symbol of the gays. Right.
Just enough to be like, fuck you guys. I like the queers. Those are my people.
I would believe in that God. Right.
Right?
But I don't.
No. But it is something to remember, the original meaning of the rainbow before you gay people stepped in and took it over.
It's so important.
It was about the flood. The great flood, that's spoken of in Genesis, and then and actually that Genesis just completely stole from about 12 other ancient legends of a great flood.
Yeah, exactly.
Going all the way back to the Epic of Gilgamesh and all sorts of other stuff. Anywho, the reason I wanted to talk about this was that one of the stories that I chose not to do for this week's show was about it was an arc that we talked about this back in 2018 when this crazy dude in the Netherlands decided to launch his Ark encounter, which is a replica of Noah's Ark. This one actually floats, so that's a hell of a thing. Unlike Ken Ham's landlocked thing in Kentucky, this one actually floats. And of course, when they launched it, it immediately crashed into some other boats and stuff. So it took some getting used to, I guess. And right now, it's actually moored. It's actually like stuck in England because they won't let it go. Basically, because it's not seaworthy.
This is God's own design,
right?
You're
or at
telling
least
me
it's as close as they could come. It's literally half the size of the smallest estimates of how many cubits. Here's the thing about a cubit. We don't really know how big a cubit is.
Oh, it wasn't
Ken
standardized.
Ham, when he created his thing, went with the largest possible guess of what a cubit is. I mean, it's like from your elbow to your fingers or whatever.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that Ken Ham was like, because he knew that the story of fitting 2 of every animal on Earth
Right.
is insane. And there's no boat that can fit that. But he knew he needed to make he had to bend every rule possible. And he had to go with the biggest possible boat so he could say, yes, we got 2 of every, and he uses the phrase kind, and he thinks that gets him out of it because it's not like not 2 of every of every dog, just 2 dogs, and not 2 because that's one kind.
Yeah, there's different kinds of elephants. There's different kinds of rhinoceros, right? Like.
But he's saying just 2 elephants, period.
That's good enough.
That's good enough. You don't need 2 African and 2 Asian elephants. You don't need... Anyway.
So, okay. I mean, I don't want to get too stuck in that, but that's just fucking ludicrous.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Because then you have to be like, well, I believe in some kind of evolution.
Right.
And then
they do. They talk about this. They talk about look, there's microevolution. It's not real evolution, but there's change over time, of course. It's just not from one species to another. That's impossible. And why would we even think about it? Anyway, both of these ideas, like the enormous arc in Kentucky, and I've said this before, it is, if you go to it, and I did, it is a monument to its own impossibility. The thing is so enormous. It is clear that no ancient times 800-year-old man and his his 3 sons, they're just not going to be able to build this thing.
Right.
It's impossible.
Why can't they just let it be an allegory at a certain point, right? Like, why can't they just take the whatever moral lesson there is there? I'm not sure what it is or what it could be, but find one and just go with it.
No,
right?
This is the problem.
Why does it have to be fucking literal?
This is the problem. If you decide to go allegorical on this, and plenty of Christians do, you still have a problem, because it's still the story of God genociding every fucking body. There is no good moral that can come out of this story. Every step of the way when you read this story, it's more and more horrifying. Like, everything that happens in it is just one awful piece of shit thing after another. There's no good morals. I mean, after the boat lands and the seas dry up and the water goes away and apparently the land is fine and arable and Noah can start planting crops there, which it was covered in like, how is, anyway, he immediately takes to grapes and becomes a vintner, makes wine, gets drunk, and then his youngest son walks in on him naked and like inadvertently just happens to see his dad naked, and then his whole line is cursed for forever.
I mean, that makes so much sense, and it's you don't get a good moral lesson out of that.
I mean,
you can't see your dad's Johnson. You
don't see your dad naked, or else is like literally everything about this. There's no way. You make it allegorical because, of course, you have to. Because there's no logical way to make sense of that story, and it still doesn't help. This is the problem. Like, maybe it has to be kept literal, and then you can at least say we don't understand God's ways, and God, and
well, because then there's a miracle. And at least it's faith promoting, if nothing else, right?
Right.
That like, oh, well, God did this like unbelievable thing. And so that makes me want to believe in him. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's about as much as I could possibly, that's being the most generous I can be about that story.
Yeah. At least then there's world-class magic at play.
Really amazing magic. And I've heard some amazing like ideas about like the whole globe flooding and how was there enough water and blah blah blah, and they come up with some crazy ass ideas. Like one where like it had never rained before. Have you ever heard this one?
No.
Like this was the first rain. I don't even know where I heard this one, but it was like no. It's not that it was like rain that caused a flood. There had never been rain. And so it was all like, imagine how long between Adam and Noah and all of this water is up in the atmosphere, right? And so that's how it flooded, is because there was just so much water up in the sky.
Oh my God. There's so much wrong with that.
Believe me, I know. But like, I know that I did not just come up with that.
No.
That was something that I heard some stupid Sunday school teacher just winging it, right? Like just coming up with something to like placate the kids who were asking too many questions. Because me and my friends, there was a group of us that probably asked too many questions.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure about that. I just can't. Here's the thing, and I've said this on the How to Heretic. The book, the Bible itself, it has nothing going for it.
Yeah.
It's just bad from cover to cover. Everyone who says that it is at very least beautiful poetry or great literature is full of shit. Yeah. There's no good poetry in it. The literature itself is abominable. It's bad storytelling. The stories don't make any sense. And there's nothing good to be gleaned from it. I challenge anyone to find me the part of the Bible that's actually okay, the Beatitudes are kind of nice. But Jesus wasn't the first person to say nice things. You know what I mean? Plenty of people have come up with
the first is for you? Is that the...
No, I'm just saying, he didn't invent be nice to each other.
Right. Well, but also, he is picking out some traits that are arguably not the best. The meek. Blessed be the meek.
Yeah,
right?
They're going to inherit the fucking earth.
But, being meek isn't going to get you anything, right?
No.
I hate to say that, but, sometimes you got to make your own way.
Yeah, I don't see meekness as a bad thing, but I don't see it as an inherent virtue either.
Right. And he's saying, blessed be the meek, as though it's this group of people or something. Maybe that's how I always heard it, and and it's no, you look at the Beatitudes and it's how to be subservient, right?
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Right. And it's how do you submit the best way? And how do you feel good about, not standing up for yourself? Right. That's how I see it. And so it's oh, well, that just teaches people to submit to the church and submit to whatever, king or political entity that's over them. And that's not from my perspective, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
The whole fucking book is just insane. But the lengths that people go through, I look at images of this ark that was from the Netherlands, which is half the size of the smallest possible idea of an ark, and it's just
so it's a third the size of Ken Ham's,
right? And it's genuinely stupid. This boat is absurd on its face, and it's reinforced. It's not a proper ark. It's got a motor. It's reinforced with steel and whatever. It's not. They didn't go out of their way to make a genuine timber structure boat because, and there's a reason for it. You can't. If you made a boat that size out of wood, pretty much every shipwright agrees it's just going to twist and shatter.
Therein lies the miracle, Dan.
There's a lot of miracle going on.
Oh, ye of little faith, Dan.
I know. And it's true. I have very little faith. It's
amazing how it has to be all literal, right? But then wherever it doesn't work, just faith.
Just faith.
Right? Yeah. Because it's you could demonstrate to them that the boat doesn't work. And it's well, then God must have made it work. Right.
Right.
Somehow.
Exactly. So then why
build a boat for that matter?
Right.
Why not find some rock to float on? Because God will make it float for you, right?
Why doesn't God just lift up all of the animals, drown the people, and then plop the animals back down? He's a fucking miracle guy. Why doesn't he just zap and smite all of the people?
Or just start over. He created them once. Why can't he just create them again?
Yeah. Just crumple this one up, throw it away, and start over.
It's really, really hard to create animals, though, Dan. It just is. It's taxing.
It's
He's got new hobbies now. He's just not into that.
Right.
He's into making it rain. This is
I've
what
always
he's
thought-
focusing on right now.
The god that killed everyone but Noah and his little family is just like a 10-year-old with an ant farm who decides to shake it like a fucking Etch-a-Sketch. These guys aren't making tunnels the way I like. Oh, I don't like I'm going to start over. And just kills everybody just to see what happens. It's just the absurdity of either believing that I think what's amazing is what we've stumbled on is if you believe that this literally happened, you're an idiot. But if you believe that it is a good allegory, that it is allegorical and is trying to teach us moral lessons, you're an idiot. There's really no good way. You can't come out of this one okay. You just can't. So anyway, if you guys want to go and Google it's called the just Netherlands Ark or whatever, and you can find the video of it being blown by the wind into a bunch of other boats. It's fun to watch. Anyway, if you have anything you'd like to say about the Ark or anything that we've talked about, please write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button.
And if you'd like to join one of our 2 members-only lounges, these are places to talk about any and all issues and topics related to being an atheist. It's not
and just find
about
some good community.
Yeah, and it's not just about the show. It's about community. Exactly. Yeah. We've got 2 different lounges that you can join. One on Facebook, one on Discord. You can find both of them by going to thankgodimatheist.com/members only.
Thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine, beautiful music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of you, dear friends, for tuning in.
Bye-bye.